Hey, hi, and hello, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. And it's time for a video, an overview of a list, a top 50 list. The worst music streaming platform of all time, known as Spotify, has decided to, in celebration of hip hop's 50th anniversary, come out with a list of the 50 greatest hip hop beats of all time. From what I understand, it is placed in like order from 50 being, I suppose, the lowest on the chain, number one being the highest, the best, which honestly, pretty tall order, especially for a genre as deep and as diverse sonically as hip hop is. Yeah, I have some qualms with this list. I've gone over it already, so no surprises for me here at least, but thought I would talk about this assembly of songs with you guys. Okay, here we are, the start of the top 50. Let's begin at number 50. We have Chief Keef, Lil Reese, I Don't Like, Young Chop on the beat there. And I actually think this is not a bad pick for such a list. This is one of the most hard, anthemic, and exhilarating trap beats of all time. You're going to expect trap and modern drill music to be represented on such a list in some way. As far as that vibe and that flavor goes, yeah, maybe it's a little obvious and mainstream, but it's not a bad choice. So I kind of vibe with that pick. But then immediately at 49, we have 3 6 Mafia with Ridin' Spinners, which as a beat is okay. Why you would automatically gravitate to something not from the group's early era, which arguably is way more influential on like a lot of modern trap stuff, especially underground stuff today, I don't know. But if you were going to pull something from this era, why not stay fly? Like infinitely better instrumental than Ridin' Spinners. We have Paid in Full, Eric B. and Rakim. I mean, not a bad bass line and, drum loop on this one. Borrowed that beat straight from the Soul Searchers there. It's a good assembly. I mean, classic record. 93 Till Infinity, though, I am a little more excited about as far as a pick. I think it's a little low on a list such as this, but it is one of the most blissful, beautiful, and gorgeous jazz rap beats of all time. The horns, the way they're laced into the instrumental on this one, just serene, instantly recognizable instrumental. Love that it is here. Again, just wish that it was higher. Goody Mob, Self-Therapy. Again, don't mind a Goody Mob placement in the midst of this list, but I don't even think that's the best instrumental off of Soul Food. I mean, Fightin', for example, I think has a lot more going on that's interesting. Shody Lows, They Know. I don't know. I've always gravitated more toward the rapping and the refrains on that track, not as much the instrumental. The pumping horn lines on the track are good, but as far as tracks with big horn sections go, is this one of the best instrumentals of all time? The 50 best? I don't think so. Kendrick Lamar, Mad City, which in my opinion is actually the best beat off of Good Kid, Mad City, especially with that amazing beat switch in the second half. It's just incredible production on this cut all around. However, I will say, and kind of spoil this list a little bit, and put out there that this is the only Kendrick beat on the entire list. Like nothing off of T-Pap. Are you kidding me? Sonically and instrumentally, that is one of the most significant hip-hop records of the past 20 goddamn years. Future, March Madness, while I'm not surprised to see Future here, he's obviously a little higher on the list with Mask Off, and I think that that's actually a good placement. That is a good, very quality, very catchy, modern bit of production. March Madness to my ears is just a generic synthy trap beat that has no personality to it. Like, goddamn, there are so many classics and so many amazing cuts that I think should have been on this list, and yet this is here. True's I'm Bout It is a pretty lo-fi run-of-the-mill G-Funk instrumental in my opinion. I think there are way better examples of G-Funk instrumentation and production throughout the 80s and 90s. This is not necessarily at the top of the list for me. Black Rob's Whoa, I think, is a legit placement because the melodies on that track are fantastic, instantaneously recognizable, but Electric Relaxation, there's so many low-end theory beats that are way better. Rough Riders Anthem, amazing beat, makes total sense, though I think that there could have been a little bit more swizz on this list generally. BMF from Rick Ross is an amazing beat as well, actually. I actually love the instrumental off of that record. I think it's one of the best instrumentals he's ever been on top of. Mass Appeal, Children's Story, and Ambitions, all great picks, though I think that they could have been placed higher, honestly. Especially Ambitions, because that synth line is one of the most recognizable synth lines in all of hip-hop production. Dreams and Nightmares, I mean, if it's gonna make it onto this list, I think it should have been a lot lower. There are some beats much lower on this list that are way better and way more interesting than the very epic grand instrumentation laced into the trap beat on Dreams and Nightmares. Runnin', The Far Side, the guitar line on that track is amazing, and it's a great beat all around. And Why State of Mind? Not enough Primo on this list, obviously. Could have been maybe 1 or 2 more tracks, though generally this is not a bad pick. Could have been higher as well, because there is no freaking way the beat on this is worse than Camp Lo's Lucchini. Trillville's Some Cut, again, another kind of very dirty South type of song, whose refrains and verses I'm more into than the beat itself, honestly. I feel like as far as production goes, this should have been a lot lower or just not on the list at all, especially when you consider all the stuff that is not in this 50. The horns on Dipset Anthem easily make it one of the best beats of the 2000s. Love that it's here. Could have even been maybe a smidge higher. Flava in Your Ear, total classic, though there are a few other tracks from this era that I think could have landed on this thing and yet did not make it. Let Me Clear My Throat, for example. I mean, come on. Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Could See is a really unique beat. I'm actually glad it made it into this list and it made it this high. This actually might be one of my favorite placements on this entire list. The Choice Is Yours, Black Sheep, one of the most iconic upright bass lines laced into any hip hop beat. That makes sense. Big Pimpin', fantastic, little foreign reed melodies throughout that beat. It's one of my favorite hip hop beats of the Bling era. Throw Some D's, I think, has been placed a little too high, though it is a good beat. Same thing with We Gonna Make It. I don't think it's as amazing or as iconic as some of the ones that came before it, for sure, as much as I do love Jadakiss. We have The Boys in Paris, Jay-Z and Kanye West. I think that makes sense. It's a banger. I mean, if you're gonna have some modern stuff and especially some Kanye stuff, and there's not really enough Kanye on this list as well, I'll be frank about that too. Okay, we're getting higher. The stakes are being raised. We have Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Message. Thank God this is on the list. I mean, there's actually a lot of iconic beats from this era of rap, especially disco-infused ones that did not make the list at all, which is kind of unfortunate. But I'm glad at least this one was on here. Cream. We knew Cream was going to be here. Actually should have been in the top 10. Get Your Freak On as a top 10 pick. Totally and utterly valid. One of the best Timbaland beats of all time. Such an odd groove. And again, it was at a point where he was like, really lacing in those amazing foreign bits of instrumentation and melody in such a creative way. Sicko Mode, I legit believe is a top 10 hip hop beat of all time. It's an amazing freaking beat. I love Still Tippin', Mike Jones, but number 8, it's not a little overrated here. I mean, this beat is better than Cream. I don't think so. Then we have It's All About the Benjamins. I mean, it's not a bad beat, but like top 50 of all time? Again, especially when you consider what is not on here, and we'll get into that in a second. Then you have Power, which I think is one of the best Kanye beats of the 2010s. That makes sense. I'm kind of surprised they didn't put Runaway on here. A Milli, incredible beat. Who Shot Ya, incredible beat as well. And Grindin', there are better instrumentals on Hell Hath No Fury. I mean, it's a classic track, but like Pharrell really upped his game on Hell Hath No Fury. You got to give it to him. Shook Ones Part 2 from Mobb Deep, actually an incredible instrumental. Totally fair that it's on here. And Still Dre, number 1 pick. I think it's kind of valid. To kick things off in a somewhat nerdy way, there's no Dilla and no Madlib on here. Are you joking? But to get more classic into the root of things, no Bomb Squad, Public Enemy, no Boogie Down Productions, no DJ Shadow, like the most significant instrumental hip hop artist of all time introducing, no. And maybe going a little more mainstream, 50 Cent, In the Club. That is an amazing beat. The beat literally carries that song. You could strip his vocals out of the song and people would still go crazy to that beat. That's how good of a beat it is. Eminem, My Name Is, I mean, sure, maybe we're talking about a bit too much like, Dre presence in the list at that point, but it's still an incredible instrumental and way better than a lot of the placements on this thing. There wasn't really much attention paid to, kind of the early electro era of hip hop. We didn't get the Bubble Bunch in here. Also, Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. As far as sample-based music goes, that record just broke so much ground. Chuck D is even on record being jealous of how good and well-produced that record is. I mean, to have nothing from that album on this list is a disgusting and gigantic blind spot. And while there was some organized noise representation with the Goody Mob placement, we went this entire list without a single freaking Outkast song. There's also no Clams Casino on here, no representation of any of the Cloud Rap stuff that was so important and significant, made the cultural splash that it did in the 2010s. No LP, no De La Soul, no Shabazz Palaces, no clipping, no great picks from the Danny Brown catalog. Of course, I mean, some of these artists I expected not to be on the list, but I'm just kind of giving you guys a picture and an idea of just how much is not being acknowledged and covered in this 50, even in terms of mainstream stuff. So I don't know, guys. I think for the most part, this list is a damn mess. There's so many incredible beats that are not included in this thing at all. So many incredible producers that are not included in this thing at all. And on top of it, of the picks that are here, if we are to take this as like, you know, a top 50, which I presume on some level it is, I don't think you would just put Still Dre at the top of the list here if you weren't trying to imply its greatness and its significance in the overall canon here of hip hop beats. Yeah, if we take this as a top 50, there are some wonky arrangements here in terms of production that I just cannot really get down with at all. And I think I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what you guys thought of this semi-cringe fest down in the comments. Love you. You're the best. Mwah. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Spotify, list forever.